Alrighty. Sorry, guys. It's bound to happen. I guess the negative energy in the room was keeping the stream open because as soon as I got rid of it, poof. Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo está usted? It's a beautiful night, by the way. I was just out there. It's raining, but it's like it's not a cold rain. It's like a nice rain, but the sound is just so great. And there's not a lot of traffic tonight, and so it's really quiet outside. And the moon is super bright, and so even though it's cloudy, there's just splashes, right? Because they're moving pretty fast. It's stormy out. It's raining. It's stormy. I love that. Good stuff. So Bree, what happened? I got your message, and I'm never sure what account to answer, and so I just answered because you had said that you needed to talk or had a question or whatever, and I said yeah, sure. I mean, but I hadn't heard back. So if you still, same here. If you still need anything, let me know, please. Just text me what you need, and we'll take care of it. Okay. Same here. Yeah, it's cloudy, but it was nice today. So you get the idea, right? So we're looking at will. Now these three people here that showed up in the beginning of the reading. Okay, these three people that you're waiting on. I believe that this might be one of them. And there's this idea, the sensation I get is that you really want a muse, right? Vesta, I'm glad you made it back. Yeah, that happens sometimes. I live in the mountains. It's a beautiful place to live. But the internet's unreliable. And my phone service is worse. Trust me. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. It's the cost of living in a beautiful area. Oh, cloudy and sky. That's beautiful. Right, so let's find out what this is about, right? This, who are these people, and more importantly, what is this thing that you want to make manifest? Because it's driving me nuts. I have to know what it is. The High Priestess. This is divine heart in mind. And interestingly, divine heart is the water sign, right? It's the cup pouring down. But it's also, and this is very interesting, the High Priestess is water, is a water card. And so that's just beautiful. That works out really well. But now this is interesting. You have these three pillars, and here you have the three pillars too. You have the two pillars on either side of mercy and severity. And then the pillar in the center, which is you. And then here, it's a similar idea. But the High Priestess ultimately refers to a couple of things. The moon, but it also refers to this, the feminine form of the Hierophant. Right, the feminine form of the magician. And so it's the idea of the intuitive side of the working. Whereas she is the scryer, he's the manifester. But it only works together, right? But that said, it's interesting to see that the thing you want to do is to enroll a couple of other people to help you in the process of making manifest wisdom, knowledge, like the idea of your authority in a certain subject that can lift people in some fashion. It's about lifting people. Advocacy. That word it keeps coming up to me. Advocacy. I have a question really quickly, actually, for Vesta. Right before the stream dropped, I noticed that you had blocked a certain individual. Were you able to see their chats, or how did that work? Or do you know who that person is, and do you have experience with them? Because if not, then ignore everything I just said. And if so, I have a question for you later. Now, the final card here, this is the Pentacle, Luana. Okay, and now the Pentacle in this particular circumstance is the thing that, up here, it's the thing that is your body and the higher world. The idea of the advocacy and the idea of an intolerance for injustice. Okay, good. Yeah, you do know that person. Yeah. And then, but down in the lower world, we have the same idea, but is what you have. It is manifest. And now, interestingly, what you have is the Two of Pentacles, which is the idea of having two competing bodies, two different forms that you identify with. But you don't identify with either, which allows you to do that. That's the thing that allows you to navigate both. All right. He's most likely going to come in through another name. In fact, I believe that might be the same person coming in here. I've had a couple of trolls. Emma's one of them. This person's another. And there's a third. I forget the name. Okay, yeah. Okay. But yeah, so I think it's the same person is already using multiple accounts, because that's what trolls do, right? You know, if you play Farmville, I don't know if that dates me. You know, you go back and you open up 14 Facebook accounts, right? And so you can play the game properly. Well, if your game is, you know, being a dickless troll on the internet, you're going to have 4 or 5 different accounts to do that, right? Because you're going to get banned. It's going to happen. But that said, though, so be it. Kitten has some cards. Let's take a look. Oh, you did get High Priestess. Wow. I got Two of Swords, Devil, Tower, High Priestess. Okay, so Two of Swords. Devil. All right. Tower. High Priestess. Interesting, too, because the Two of Swords is the opposite of the Two of Pentacles with that respect, as far as, like, speaking and rejecting. But anyway, though, so the Two of Pentacles here is the idea of having these two different pentacles, two different bodies, two different things that you bring to the table, but you don't identify with either, right? Oh yeah, I just thought somebody made a suggestion, Vesta, that it would be neat to like have people in the audience participate in the readings. And so if you have a deck, go grab it and shuffle, and you can join. And so how that applies to this idea of this compulsion toward an intolerance for injustice, or this idea of this compulsion toward advocacy with respect to these two different competing ideas, it almost seems like that you would be, it's almost like an arbiter, a negotiator. Oh, cool, great. And that's a great approach to the tarot too. Yeah, you don't have to read them specifically to connect with the vocabulary and you know. Immigration law. I don't know, but there's some type of like advocacy or some type of a position that I could see that this thing that you want to make would be related to being an arbiter of some kind or a negotiator of some kind. But also specifically the idea of the that there being an intolerance to injustice, or there being this idea of there being a making it right. Making it rightness. Yeah. And actually, I wound up giving everybody that mattered a mod, so that while I'm not here, you guys can jump on and take care of the, you know, the people who deserve to be kicked out. I'm very selective about who I actually remove. But yeah, that was a no-brainer. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to pause and first ask if Luana is still here or has come back in. And if not, then I'll reach out and hopefully she will see it. The ending of the reading. And because I wanted to incorporate Kitten's cards and then to look at the beads in conjunction with what we've just read, right? And so we can look at them together. And for this, I'm going to use the pentacle method. Okay, so we'll put the beads out, and then I'm going to overlay that pentacle diagram, right? So that we can kind of take a look at what's where and what the influences are. Okay, great. So any particular circumstance here that you wanted me to elaborate on, either higher or lower world, before I continue? I also love the symbolism on the bottom of the card, right? It's the idea of these ships that are navigating these seas. There's a lot of gravity going on, Okay, so the Two of Sword is a different energy than the Two of Pentacle. The Two of Sword is the energy of two competing ideas, as opposed to two competing products, right? And so the energy, and that fell in the Will section, right, which was the Queen of Pentacle. And so the Two of Sword in that section is going to be the idea of her, the watery part of Earth is the idea of the feeling, making your emotions known physically, wanting to make your emotions known physically. When you combine that with the Two of Sword, what it is that you're kind of spitting out different messages. And it might be confusing when attempting to enroll others in it with respect to how you attempt to communicate that. The Devil underneath the King of Wands section, this is again a complete absolute will. The want to do, to be, to make, to have, to be heard, to be had. And when you apply the Devil to that, what it refers to is essentially an entitlement of that, or the sensation of the idea that you are in control when you might not necessarily be in control. It's under the world, okay? That actually makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's just sort of a natural way to see that, because the Devil is us believing we're separate, focusing on the body, and the world is the unification of all four. Right? Complete agency is the point. Complete agency. The Tower over here under the High Priestess section too. This is the idea of almost like a breakup instead of getting together. Basically, it's the idea of being able to let go of past relationships to be open to new ones, which implies that there's some kind of reason that you wouldn't be able to have new relationships until the old one ended. But that's what I'm seeing. Maybe potentially an overbearing person, a controlling person. If you're dealing with a business or a friendship, that could be somebody that really is the loud one that doesn't ever let you talk. And could certainly be the one that takes credit where it's not earned. That would be that would lead you to have this sort of like drive to make sure that it doesn't happen to other people, right? But there's that gist of the idea of that person is sort of like the like a very dominant energy in a group setting. And what was the final one? Oh, actually, wait, that was in the last chat, wasn't it? It's not going to be in this chat. Yeah, what was the last card, kitten? I don't remember what it was. I remember the first three. Oh, it was the High Priestess. Oh, yeah, you have the High Priestess in the last section. So the High Priestess and the will being manifest, like the completion of the will being done into a thing, is interesting, because you have the High Priestess here underneath these three, and then you have the High Priestess here underneath these three. These three people are friends that you're waiting on. Okay, and then these three are one of them is taking credit where it doesn't belong, one of them is totally banged up about that, and there's the person trying to make it all right, but they're trying to make it all right by healing the one that became the victim, as opposed to getting this person out of the circumstance, right? And being intolerant of that, rather than focusing on healing this person. This person's strength can be built up separately, but if this person's here to continue to take credit and to not allow that growth to happen, it's gonna literally do that. It's gonna stop that from happening, and everyone's gonna pay for it in a bad way. Seven of Pentacle over the High Priestess. Seven of Pentacle. Okay. And the Magician is over the Tower, right? Yep. That's in this state, right? So basically what this is referring to over and over again here is that there's a relationship developing between multiple people with the intent of getting together to make this idea happen. This idea is related to advocacy in some fashion and is born out of maybe potentially an injustice that either you experienced or witnessed, or are experiencing or witnessing. And by doing so, you can develop a system, a method of sharing that service. And so that's the gist with respect to kind of where it stands, without any feedback or any particular positional meeting or guidance with respect to the direction of the reading. But that's kind of where it stands, right? And so we can look at that a little further by taking our beads as an example, or the I Ching. I'm going to use the beads now, and then we're going to use the I Ching after, to get to the real heart. So the first thing I'm going to do is just shuffle them around. And since we're talking about here a lot of relationship stuff, I'm going to look at the heart and mind first. So we're going to go from the right-hand side into the left hand, right? We're going to go in from what you want into what you're speaking. Okay. And so when we shuffle this and we're looking at the beads, we're going to look at the beads with respect to this diagram. Okay. And so what we're going to be looking for is that we're going to want to take a look at this and say, this area at the top is related to this area. This area on the right is related to this area. This area here on the left is related to that area. Okay, the bottom over here is related to the pentacle area. Okay, and then the bottom right section here is related to the wand. Okay, and so now that's going to mean all the things related to these elements: water, emotion, heart, love, emotional insecurity, depression, like all the emotions are here. This is mind, thought, voice, speak, so forth. Okay. And so we're going to look at the progression from here to there in that transition. And now when we look at that, if we look at the section here, we see that we have two separate wills. Let's just give that a minute to catch up. Okay. Two separate wills. Those are those pink beads. And two separate voices, hearts with one voice. So just to be clear, two hearts, two wills, one voice. This is a good thing. So whoever this King of Wand is to your Queen of Pentacle, the conversation is good. There's a a solid relationship with respect to there being an understanding in the communication. The both of you are one voice, even though you're both coming from two separate wills, two separate connections to the information. The voice is still singular, and that's good. Let's look at the communication section. And what we see here is, and that's going to be this area over here. Okay. Here we have two voices, one pentacle. So this is the same idea of these two people speaking. Let's let that camera catch up. These two people speaking the same vision. Okay. And then when we get into manifestation, we get into some very interesting thing here, because we get the, come on now. We get the masculine will and the feminine both in that manifestation section, and the way that's going to happen. I can't. It's driving me nuts. The idea here is that the manifestation is fueled by the fact that they're both speaking the same message. And so when it comes to wanting to make something, a good analogy of that is that you're both in the position to tell somebody the ingredients, the recipe, the instructions for making this thing happen. And if you and the other person are giving different descriptions of those instructions, that's not going to work out so well, will it, right? The person's going to get confused about how they make the cookies. Like, he told me to use 1 stick of butter, and you said to use 1.5 sticks. Like, well, which one is it? Right? Like, do I want brown or white sugar? Right? And so it's important that unified message be not only unified in the intent, but in the actual words chosen. And so when you're speaking the actual desire, and more importantly, you're speaking the instructions to the universe on how to make that manifest, right? The manifestation is speaking. Speaking is an act of creation. And the way that we do that is, I mean, if it were that easy, we could just speak and get everything we want. We can't just speak what we want. We speak through the act of listening. Speaking is an act of creation, and listening is an act of speaking. Okay. So when the two of you are speaking the same message, manifestation can happen properly. That's right. And there's going to be a lot of changes going on to the channel here that are going to correct some issues, and are going to allow this to grow more organically in the way that it should, without some of the hiccups that have been slowing it down, right? And that's going to be a good thing. And it's going to evolve the process much faster, as far as getting proper resources during lectures or teaching, and some good stuff related to while doing readings, and so it's all positive. Good stuff. All right, so let's pull some I Ching now to get a fine. And then what I'm going to do, just because I did I Ching before at the beginning of the last stream, I had a nice little section of 25 ways to pull lines and stuff. I don't want a whole hexagram. What I want to do is just look at a changing line, and so I'm going to cheat, and I'm allowed to do that because it's my world. And in my world, I get to do it my way. I do what I want. So here's how I do that. Basically, you grab your beads. It's the quickest method. And I'm going to look for my mirror. Okay. I'm going to pick a pinch, put them in the middle, count them. If it's odd, it's masculine. Even if it's feminine. Actually, I don't need to do that. I forgot. We're not doing the hexagram. We're doing a changing line only. Okay? And so the first thing we're going to do to pick that changing line is we're going to pick a chord card. Okay? And so we need the elements to choose the chord card. And so I'm going to grab my beads, give it a shake, grab one. Okay, that's a masculine wand, right? So that is a wand. That is a king or a knight, if you're in the Thoth, but a king. That was the feminine cup, or sorry, the masculine cup. All right, so that's the King of Cups. The King of Cups is the 54th hexagram, which is thunder over lake. A storm is a brewing. Thunder over lake. Okay, now, so that's the 54th, and now I need the changing line, because I'm not reading the hexagram. I just want additional guidance on the reading, and so I'm strictly going to look for a changing line. So we're going to go to the 54th. But I'm not going to read the actual hexagram. What I'm going to do is just read the changing line that I'm about to determine, okay? And the way that we determine the changing line is take a pinch of beads or seeds or rice grains or whatever the case. Take a pinch and count them. If it's 6 or less, that's your changing line. If it's greater than 6, subtract 6, that's your changing line, okay? And so here's what we're going to do. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minus 6 is 1. So there's 7 beads, minus 6 is 1. So the first line is our changing line. And so what I'm going to do is pull up the 60 or the 54th hexagram and read the first line guidance. Okay, and that's it. So this is our method to get just additional guidance on what we've already done here with the original reading and now the tarot. We are in 54. Is called marriage. An improper match makes a regrettable marriage no benefit. Okay, now let's look at the first line though. Ignore that. Well, don't ignore it, but that's not the guidance, because the line can completely change it. So the first line is, it is not a very good match. One leg is shorter than the other, and one sees with only one eye. A good relationship can still exist, however, if one is willing to be submissive and helpful to one's partner. So here's, just to be clear, although you're pretty smart and you speak symbolism, right? But what I read in that is the two people, one of them is very short-sighted and is not listening to the other. So they're standing on one foot with one eye closed, and they're, right? It's not, in their mind, it's not a two-way street. It's not a tango. In their world, they're dancing, and your job is to watch them. You're just an audience. You're their spectator. And that's not sustainable from a relationship perspective or a business perspective, because it turns into a cult of personality when really what you're trying to do is to create a service or a product. But if the subject is love, then this is very bad mojo, right? Because there's that one dominant person that doesn't even realize that that's what they're doing. Like, it doesn't even dawn on them that they're missing out on a very good thing by virtue of the fact that they're stealing all the fire in the situation. No matter where they are, they're always stealing the fire. Right. Now, there's additional guidance in the back for each hexagram. Okay, and so now I don't know the crux of, I have no idea what this reading was for, right? It was a general reading, but it was specific to an individual. This was specifically for Luana. So without revealing too much, I understand that you're sort of a quieter person. Which one of these would be relevant for additional guidance? Personal fortune, marriage, housing and family, childbirth, looking for work, social or governmental position, trade or business, searching for somebody, waiting for somebody, looking for something lost, hunting for thieves, lawsuit, climate, travel, disease, personal wish. So which one of these is relevant? And then we'll read the specific guidance after the fact. Right? Normally, the child will be a girl. If it is a boy, both the mother and son will be endangered. There's a couple of energies that came up here in a few spots that are important, and then one of the things I wanted to look at is the where there were similarities in the cards, right? And so the High Priestess came up twice, and 2 came up twice. 2 of Sword and 2 of Pentacle. The Sword is the masculine energy, the Pentacle is feminine, and both of the High Priestesses are feminine. So there's definite feminine energy going on here, like definitely daughter vibe. However, the 2 of Cup is 2 bodies. 2 bodies. 1 mind. Twins. More specifically, potentially, possibly, an integrated twin, right? Which could potentially lend to a possible issue if they're separate genders and the male is the predominant that integrates the female. That might not work. Or vice versa, or there may just be an issue with the twins where one of them takes the energy from the other, and just consider that during that circumstances. But there's this idea of the fact that the 2s came up often, and the High Priestess and the water. There is some vibe related to that here. But unfortunately, the guidance also seemed to be that like the father isn't conducive to you personally. The relationship part doesn't seem to be great. They seem to be kind of like in their own world, and are and don't even realize it, right? That they're being sort of selfish. But that's a specific guidance with respect to that line. Okay. Yeah, a bunch of 2s. You got a lot of 2 energy. Yeah, 2 kings and a page and a queen, right? So we didn't get any of the knight/prince. And so all of the energies are in their matured state. At least the elementals are in the matured states, compared to the prince, the page, which is the important princess, the one that actually brings things into manifestation. Like the rest of it is all is higher world stuff. The page of wand is like there's no intent to become physical. There's no intent to be. It just is. The Page of Pentacles is a different story, though. The Page of Pentacles is this idea of wanting to actually make it real. Oh, yeah. I've been toying around with an idea of colored balls. Like this is a green one, and I have a couple of different ones. I have a blue one that I used for the lantern. I don't know if it's too obvious on there. I don't know. I can't really see it on there, but I promise you it's blue. The ball's blue. So anyway, this was in the way when I tried to put the book back. So I hope that was insightful, right? That's one of the ways that you can look at how to determine a hexagram, how to, look at the combinations of the court cards and how that works. This little diagram, this little square of numbers is so powerful with respect to the I Ching and the court cards, right? If you get a Princess of Wands, it's the 27th hexagram. Right? And right away, without even looking at that, like you can get man, come on with this lag. The 27, right? And so you have a mountain above thunder. So it's basically an earth and fire, right? Again, just pick one. The Prince of Sword is going to be airy air. Well, that one we already looked at. That was wind over wind. How about the Prince of Cup? Is the airy part of water, Okay, 61 should be the airy part of water, so let's find out. Where's 61? Okay, and we have wind and lake. It's just a beautiful system. This really works very well. And so, if you know one, you know the other. If I know the language of the tarot, I can use it to instantly, without even having to do too much digging, know the basic vibe of the elements of that hexagram. It's beautiful. You can approach the I Ching as a brand new person, and through your language of the understanding of the court cards, have a knowledge of that hexagram and how it's going to read. It's really powerful stuff. And vice versa, it'll help you unlock the tarot if you're familiar with I Ching. And it does work. It's really special. It's good stuff. And now I'm going to pull one more card from a different deck, but I'm going to pull one more card, and the specific question, I'm going to actually ask a question, is what should Luana do next? Do. Not know, but do next. I just wanted to shuffle these so that the intent is gone, and we're on from that, and now we're looking future. We're looking what next. And so I just want to shuffle out what we just did so it's not in the air. Look how pretty that is in black and white. Incidentally, this is the card of the, the Divine Mother, Venus. Now that doesn't mean if you get the Empress pregnancy, but it is the Divine Mother. That part's true. In fact, you have to resist the urge that every time you see the Empress, it means pregnancy. A lot of readers do that, and that's just not good. Correct that. Okay, so what should Luana do next? King of Swords. Which is the card that started this whole thing off, right? Okay, here's the deal, Luana. Whoever this King of Swords is very significant in your circumstance, and is either, there's two people here. One of them is a very positive influence, and one is a very negative influence. And so it depends upon which one you're, judgment. Okay, yeah. And that's relevant here because it's the idea of choosing between these two things. The Two Pentacles, the Two Swords. There's multiple modes here of expression. But there's a general sense of a darkness about this person's mode of communication. And that they perhaps don't recognize that although their intent is to be dramatic, they're actually not. It's not coming off properly. They're failing, and it's causing negativity, which is not the goal, but that's what's being accomplished. Right? So that's what's actually is being accomplished, is this negativity. So if that's not the intent, the thing you need to do next is to recognize that your position is higher than them. It's recognizing that your position is higher than them. That you don't need to be. You don't need to feel like you even need to entertain their nonsense. And you can certainly speak to them everything that I spoke, which is that you may think like you're entitled or the center of this circumstance here, but I'm the one having to go through it. Secondly, if you insist that I hear you, then I insist that you hear me. There needs to be an equality, or I'm just not going to listen. And as far as judgment is concerned, judgment is the card, basically, it's like first of all, it's the final card of the Supernal Triad. Yanis, how's it going? It represents water, but manifested as fire. It's kind of like the swapped version of will and heart, right? The purple. The purple can be reddish purple or blue purple. But it's all purple. But that said, though, the idea here is that you need to be okay with, you need to take on the role, you need to take on the role of the fiery part of air so that you can convert that energy. So you're the one who needs to speak your will and say, hey, listen, enough of you taking credit where it's not due, enough of you having that circumstance where you feel like that that when it comes time to divvy up the results, that you get a bigger share. Like, that's not okay. Like, there needs to be this level of equality. So, yeah. Right, so I hope that was insightful. Wow. Can we just take a moment, first of all? Blessed be. Just how perfectly witchy it is that you said that. I love that. How cute it is that you called her Kit Smith. I mean, that's just adorable. Kit Smith. Love that. I'm not really sure where to go next because it's close to 5 a.m. and I have a pretty busy day tomorrow. I'm going to be at the thrift store volunteering, which is cool because anybody who knows my channel knows that when I volunteer at the thrift store, I come back with all kinds of goodies. All right, I'm going to come back with hopefully some really gaudy rings. I love gaudy rings. The more obnoxious, the better. My favorite ring I had was it was like this big. And it was literally a golden cornucopia with diamonds pouring out of it. It was so horrible. It was really bad. It was bad. And you know what's funny? It was so cheap. It broke. It actually fell in half. And where it fell in half is drumming. I was at the Woodstock reunion in Bethel, New York. It's every year at Yasgur's Farm. And I was drumming. I was at the barn fire at the drum circle, and I was in it. I was in it, and I was just boom, ba-doom, boom, boom, ba-doom, boom. Oh no. Yep, that shit happened. And then it dawned on me, I'm the idiot who was drumming with rings on. Anyway, so yeah. So I can't blame the drums. I can't blame the... It was me. It was poor judgment. So Yenis needs a card. What are we looking at? First of all, Luana, thank you so much for... Okay, great. Sure. You know, and sometimes it's not easy to shut that voice off. And I get that. But what you have to recognize is who's speaking. Because what's happening here, and I'm going to get your card in a minute here, Yenis. Let's just try real quick. Would you say third one down? Card 3, sure. What you have to realize is that who's speaking. Because at the end of the day, especially when you hear negative chatter in your mind, that's your ego. And all the ego does is to pick the words and to fool you into thinking that you're the one thinking. Which you do, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you're not capable of thinking. We do think. But the language that we use to interrogate those thoughts is provided by the ego. And now we have to recognize the truth. We can't not do that. The ego is necessary because it's the thing that allows us to communicate with people. It's the thing that allows us to take in the world and to give it meaning. So it's necessary. But what we can do is recognize that it's not us. It does not have our best interest in mind. It has its own self-preservation in mind. And if that includes giving us suffering in order that it does what it wants, then it'll do that happily. And so the ego can actually wind up becoming the source of our pain by fooling us into thinking that it's chatter of the mind, when it really is just the ego trying to maintain agency. And when we take agency back from it, what we wind up doing is looking at those and then saying, okay, well, I'm going to identify with this and feel all bad, or I can look at it and go, you know what, that's not even real. This is just nonsense. And you actually can observe the thoughts and laugh at them. Like, listen to my brain tell me that I'm this or that, or not this or not that. It's actually comical. Death. Yes, death. Got some Scorpio vibe going on. We're in Scorpio right now. All right, and so this is actually very appropriate. This isn't referring to death. It's not referring to transformation. It's referring to nowness. All right, that we're in the period. I played percussion in high school. Favorite was the snare. Oh, love that. I thought I like to visualize a mallet. Oh my gosh. Try to hold back negative communication with others as well as yourself. Sure. Well, I don't know about holding it back. I think what's important, and you know, Yenis, we've been talking about this since I first began speaking to you, is integrating the dark part of yourself, right? Integrating the divine Lilith. Because what happens is that that's how you're able to take control back from the negativity. And so, but you're correct. You know, it's about holding back. Another way to hold back is to hear it emerging and go, no. And then you can transform it, turn it into love, or turn it into just something other than yucky. You know, once we know what the color is, we know what to add to make it the color we want. Once we know what the note is, we know what note to add to make it the sound that we want. And so anytime that I see negative or bad or yucky, I see opportunity to turn it into something beautiful. And we always have that opportunity. Do you want me to pull another one, or should I stop at death? That wind out there is really howling. It's cool. Thank you, Luana, for putting up with my channel going down and, me losing my shit and when a stranger is dumb or just, I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, anytime. I hope so, and I hope that when you do speak to yourself that you understand who you're speaking to, which is divine. I know it was dark. It was dark for a long time, but it wasn't dark. It wasn't. You were made to think it was. She wants out. She's wanted out for a long time. It's okay to give her permission. I can feel it. You're an interesting soul. Yes. Here's the deal. I absolutely get multiple energies from you every time we communicate, which is rare. I mean, we've actually talked less than than some other people that I bumped into through this process here. And right now I'm feeling like a very positive sort of, almost like a mother vibe. It's almost like a very sort of comfortable, nurturing, approachable kind of, oh, come here, honey, I'll give you a hug kind of vibe right now from you. And there's other times where it's the opposite of that, where it's very intense and root chakra, right? Not intimidating, but could be. But and that difference but right now is this sort of like, and so you're clearly moving into that place already, which is great, and it's going to become more frequent. But the Page of Cups, as we know, is the earthy part of water. It's the ability, the desire to want to make manifest the heart, the true heart. The idea of the fish there, too, is the idea that fish is there specifically to point out the fact that there's a divine consciousness in that cup that's wanting to speak to you. Because what's the cup filled with? The sword of the higher world, right? And so that cup's actually filled with the desire to speak to you what the heart really is, and then you to make it manifest. Because how does the page know what she wants to make? Because her higher self tells her. Okay, so that's the 8th one. a.m. Let's see, when do I have to be down there? 11 to 3. So that means that if I could, that I'd have to be up around latest 10 o'clock to be able to get my act together to leave the house. Klaus from American Dad. Wow. I love that show. Roger is one of the smartest characters on television. I mean, whoever wrote Roger, I mean, I know who wrote him, but I mean, like who writes his dialogue, and it is so smart. He's so smart. The character's great. Really? Well, that was pretty generous. And actually, it turns out then, chances are, whatever you wound up giving me lifted a little bit from you, which is nice. And so just keep going. I'll take as much as you want to give me, especially if it'll make you lighter. There's no reason to suffer. Even if that suffering is as basic as just not knowing your true self. Because I do. I know it. You make a lot of assumptions, Yanis. You make a lot of assumptions. Very often in the chat, you'll say something like, so on and so on and so on. Or I bet you think this, or I bet you feel that. Nope. So just, I really wish more than anything else that you could see what I see. Because if you did, this would be a different circumstance altogether. But I need to sleep. I have to go. I have to be up tomorrow, and I have to run a register at the, so I have to do math, give back change. But that's cool. I'm not a person that gets thrown off when someone hands me a penny. Okay, let's read randomly from the Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot by the one, the only, Lon Milo Duquette, the world's greatest authority living on the Aleister Crowley magical system. Wrote the book. There it is. All right, so random page. The sun, the lord of fire of the world. Every man and every woman is a star. In fortune-telling traditions, the sun is often interpreted as the card representing the querent, or the face the querent shows to the world. This indicates to me that, deep down inside, all of us are inherently aware that we are ultimately solar beings. Crowley explains, this is one of the simplest of the cards. It represents Heru-Raha, the lord of the new aeon, in his manifestation to the race of men as the sun's spiritual, moral, and physical. He is the Lord of light, life, liberty, and love. This aeon has for its purpose the complete emancipation of the human race. That is quite a statement, and I believe Crowley meant every word of it. Whenever I am asked to explain the philosophy of, or if you prefer, the religion of Thelema, the first thing I usually tell people is, it is a modern form of sun worship. But then I'm quick to add, and when I use the word sun, I'm also referring to myself. Lon Milo, man. Dude. You know what's really cool about that is that I was asked that direct question from somebody today, and I gave him a short answer because it wasn't time. I didn't feel like it was a good time to answer the question completely, and so I left it a little bit hanging, and there it is. Page 148. Page 148. There's your answer. Love that. What is Thelema? In its modern form of sun worship, and when I use the word sun, I'm also referring to myself. God, it's so great. Whether or not Crowley would have agreed with my gross generalization is debatable. I believe, however, that it does describe in the most primitive terms the essence of Thelema. Now that human consciousness has been subtly mutated with the knowledge that the sun continually exists, that it neither dies at night nor plunges toward extinction in the autumn, we as a race are poised to identify with our own consciousness with the same phenomenon. Just as sunlight is perpetual, consciousness is continuous. Death is an illusion, every bit as much as night is an illusion. Immortality is simply consciousness of the continuity of existence. And I just want to leave one more perfect gem, Mr. Lon Milo Duquette. This line, sir, is everything, okay? Wow. Now that human consciousness has been subtly mutated with the knowledge that the sun continually exists, that it neither dies at night or plunges toward extinction in the autumn, we as a race are poised to identify with our own consciousness with the same phenomena. Here's the gem. Just as sunlight is perpetual, consciousness is continuous. Death is an illusion every bit as much as night is an illusion. Immortality is simply consciousness of the continuity of existence. What is night? The ball turning so that we're on the shadow side. There is no night. The sun's still shining. We just don't know it because we're on the other side, right? Don't be afraid of death. What are you losing? Your perspective. That's it. And what does that mean? What are you right now? You're a perspective. That's all you are. And that perspective is provided to us by our ego. So take agency back, and guess what? You literally have the power to create your entire universe. Thank you, Armand Duquette, for that beautiful random page that just gave us all kinds of great wisdom. So I'm going to catch up on the chat and then call it an evening. To fill thy space is to accommodate all of me. There is absolute truth in that statement. Assumptions I have made is not been wrong or right. We kind of don't have a choice but to make assumptions, right? It's one of the ways that we interrogate our world. It's the assumptions that are the vocabulary that we originally develop. The symbol system that's going to become our thought forms. I mean, they're all lies anyway, of course. You know, like there's no red in this room. There's no green in this room. I'm not wearing glasses. These aren't glasses. These are ones and zeros that are being interpreted by my mind, and then I give meaning to them because of their purpose in my world as to help my vision. They're not glasses. If you consider that death is the ball turning, so we're on the shadow side, we get to look out and see a whole different sky. I bet you it's really cool. You know, don't forget, everyone in Australia has a totally different set of constellations than we do. That's what death is. Death is just a new set of constellations. We get to draw the lines and make new pictures. And this time we get to add ourselves into there, right? We get to put the lines in between and connect the dots into our own story. Because here we have this persistent idea of who it is that we think we are. But when we die and we're shed of all this nonsense, all we are at that point is, instead of here, where we're nothing but a point of reception, there we're nothing but a point of bestowal. And so after we pass and that planet turns, we are in a constant state of just creation. We're just in a perpetual state of storytelling. How great is that? We're writing the story already. We might as well pick a good ending, right? I already have. And spoiler, it's amazing. It's so good it doesn't need a sequel. Like, really. And in my world, I'm an amazing dancer. But of course, it's because I had a good partner. Right? So, yeah. That said, I really appreciate everybody who came here tonight and who, again, tolerated my little meltdown with that troll on the last stream. I took way too long on that person, but at the same time, you know, what they spoke about, it triggered me, and I just realized that, you know, I had to deal with it, and so I did. I just got it over with. And you know, the stream going down and all this other nonsense. It's there's changes that are coming. I was born my real. Anyway, so change is coming, and what we're gonna wind up doing is seeing some really like awesome stuff in the near future. All kinds of good stuff. Good resources. Good. The production quality is going to increase on the show here, and it's just going to be something special. Okay, so just look out for it. And there'll be some goodies coming as well. Some additional goodies, like for instance the dictionary I was finally able to pick up to help with the Gematria and the Toricon, and some other ritual stuff related to the magical part of what I'm doing here. And some beads and some other stuff to look into the different methods of using the bead system to read and go that route. Okay. And so, really, it means a lot that you guys continue to come back and listen to me talk at you and engage in this wonderful way in the chat. This is the best chat on YouTube, period. End of story. Best one. But you know that because you're the one writing it. So thank you for writing it. Okay. Why are you sending me such intenseness? Why am I sending you such intenseness? It is all I know how to do. I am not sending you intenseness. I am sending you Michael. Thank you for flattering me. Check your message requests. Okay. Will do. All right, great. Well, thanks a lot, guys. If you have any questions or any subjects that you want to talk about, right, I'm happy to bring them up. And I'm like real time, right? And so if there's anything in particular that you want to mention, to learn, or that I talked about once before and, it didn't land properly because the stream got dropped or whatever reason, let me know, and I'm happy to discuss it, and we'll go from there. Okay? Luana, thank you for popping back into my stream. You don't know it unless you've been watching and not chatting, but I mention you every stream. Like, I wonder where Luana is. We're missing that. We have this beautiful group of people, and when you're not here, we get a little dumber. We get a little less pretty, and we get a lot less connected, right? And so, thank you for being here tonight. Yenis, same thing. And Yenis, I understand the logistics of where you are in the world, on the planet, compared to us, but you pop in late, and it sucks, because I usually leave around 5 a.m., and you always come in 20 minutes to half an hour before I leave, and so we don't get to hang out. I would love to hang out, so you should come in more earlier. You don't have to, what am I saying? That's so selfish. How egoic. Would you come into my stream earlier, please, so we can hang out longer? I love everybody. I love you. And you know I mean it. I'll see you guys soon. The whole thing happened. I'm not proud of it, but it did.